Welcome to Live the Final Third with Stephen Kilbreath. More life, more stories, and more ahead. Through hopeful, honest conversations, we'll talk with people turning experience into purpose, connection, and impact. These are real stories from real people creating real momentum. Live the Final Third shines a light on people using experience, curiosity, and heart to make a difference in this season of life, including some familiar voices from Stephen's years in the media business. Because the Final Third might just be the best one yet.
Welcome to the Live the Final Third podcast. My name is Stephen Kilbreath, and it's great to be here with you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is a treat today. I love this man that we're going to be talking to. His name is Ichabod Caine. He was the morning show host at KMPS for a long, long time. I think, 20 years that he worked there. Worked at other stations in Seattle. Grew up listening to him on KJR, Seattle, Channel 95 with all your top 40 hits and all that kind of stuff. So it's great to have him on the show today. I will say we do talk a lot about faith and things like that. So just wanted to let you know that. That's not necessarily the theme of our podcast, but certainly something that we do talk about today. So just wanted to let you know about that. Also wanted to let you know that if you want to help us out with our podcast and help pay for some of the expenses, you can do that. Trevor's here all the time doing the executive producer stuff. So every donation you make, part of that, a very small part of that, is going to go to Trevor. Actually, a lot of it will, because we want to take care of Trevor and all the work that he's doing on this for us. Trevor does make me wear shoes today, so that's why I have shoes on now. I didn't earlier. But we want to make sure that Trevor's taken care of and all of the team behind the scenes, so you can go to the website, click the donate button. Any small amount helps, and we appreciate you for doing that. Until we get some sponsors, we're going to have to keep asking for that. Also, want to let you know the whole concept behind this. It's about people using experience, curiosity, and heart to make a difference in this next chapter of their lives. We're going to shine a spotlight on some of my friends in the old media business. That's why we've had some great guests so far, and we're going to continue to do that. And I'm just pleased that Ichabod has, gracefully decided to be on the show today. So I hope you enjoy it. Here's my conversation with Ick.
In the city of Seattle, 94 country, USA. Yup. Well, Ichabod Caine and the Waking Crew is the way to start your day. You better be bright and bushy when you hear that whistle call.
Dudes, tomorrow it's a stay-home day.
Ichabod Caine.
94.1 KMPS.
Oh my gosh, Ichabod Caine, are you serious? You're on this podcast with me? How cool is that?
Beyond my pleasure, brother.
You know what I always tell people, I was hashtag blessed in my radio career for the two remarkable radio shows I was able to be a part of. I absolutely loved my time with you and at KMPS, and reason being is there's no other music like country music, is there?
Amen.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's life. All your whole life you can listen to country music. It's not it's not like top 40 music where there's like a time in your life you're listening to it. It's just great, and I loved the audience there and all of that. How did you get involved in country music, and did you like it before you started doing it?
Yeah, I think I kind of did before, but it was rock and roll, similar to you. That was my goal in life, to play rock and roll music, and we had a rock and roll band, and we would rent places to put on our gigs. And we weren't that good, so we would change our name, and then we'd rent another one. I'm not kidding. But it was rock and roll, man. That was it.
Yeah.
Sex, drugs, rock and roll. Come on. That was what it was.
Yeah. What did you play, or were you singing?
Little singing, guitar, yeah. But I was pretty mediocre, but they liked me, so they kept me in the band.
That's good.
But that whole life is really a big part of, I guess, how I got into radio, because it was like, I realized I'm not going to make a living at this, but radio, ironically, it's not embarrassing to admit. My mom said, you're a talker, you might enjoy radio. So I went to the Ron Bailey School of Broadcast, and they accepted me. And then I thought, well, this is the greatest gig ever. I was just in love with it, playing rock and roll and talking and joking and having fun. And then along the way, you probably know, I had a sort of a spiritual conversion. And I think that's why country, when that opportunity opened up, because country's pretty honest, you know.
Right.
I drank last night, but I'm in church on Sunday. Whatever, but it's pretty right there. And so I found a home in country and that's how you and I connect.
Yeah. Yeah. When you went to the School of Broadcasting, how old were you at that time?
Probably 20, maybe 19, something like that.
Yeah. So, but music and talking to people has been a part of your life since you were born, right?
Yeah. Well, look, we got the same birthday, and right behind you is a jukebox, and you're talking.
Yeah.
We're bonded. You and I are bonded.
That's true. Yeah, we have the same May 22nd birthday, which is awesome. You grew up in Forks. Were you born in Forks? I mean, they don't have a hospital there, do they? Or were you born in Port Angeles?
They didn't have a hospital in Forks. No, we had to go to Port Angeles to be born.
Yeah.
But it worked out well that I came back, and my mom taught school. My dad was a logger, and then they owned a cafe, and they did a bunch of things. He was kind of a jack of all trades kind of guy, 6'7", totally loved him.
Yeah, you're tall too. How tall are you?
I'm only 6'2".
6'2". Well,
I say only. I mean, maybe that's a little beyond the norm. I don't know, but I was always, Howard was up there.
What was
always say if somebody would say to him, hey, man, how tall are you? And he'd explain. Then he'd look there and say, but you know what? There's work to be done down there as well.
That's funny. So
funny guy.
So growing up in Forks, what's it like growing up in Forks?
Well, I was only there till I was 5, and it was wet. Yeah, but still a fun experience. We lived initially on a kind of a farm. My dad was a farmer too, and we had a tractor and animals. And I remember when the Bogashil River flooded. I remember seeing the goat on top of the fence post. I thought, how did that goat get up there? So you have some kind of memories, but they weren't many. And then we moved to the big city, Port Townsend, and that's where I pretty much grew up. Was there?
Yeah, and you said you knew pretty much your whole life that you would be talking to people for a living. That's kind of what you knew.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I knew that then. I guess I realized that I enjoyed visiting with people and such, so I couldn't help but feel like that might be or at least my mom concluded that might be an avenue you should pursue. I never make these decisions on my own.
Do you think that the radio or the music or how you were able to communicate with people through the airwaves and things like that, is that something you learn, or do you think that you're born with it?
I guess you could learn that. I suppose if you want to do it, if there's an alt 2 in there, if there's an alt 2 inside of you, I don't think that's there by accident. So I'm not sure how to answer the question, except that one, I forgot what the question was, and two, I think if you delight in something, besides stuff that's crappy for you, easy to delight in the wrong things. If you delight in something, that's not, like I say, I don't think that's by accident. If you find yourself animated by it and thrilled by it. I remember sitting in broadcasting school. I grew up with a lot of anxiety. And I remember sitting there, even despite that, going, are you kidding? We get to talk on the radio? Maybe they'll pay us? And some were there kind of on the GI Bill, and I felt like maybe they weren't excited. I couldn't believe it. I got this opportunity, I'm sure you can relate to that, is going to come my way. This is the coolest thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah. It's, did you ever feel it's not really like working, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So out of that school, and then do you get a job right away?
They actually at that time placed you, and they wanted they suggested there was a place in Ohio, and I went, gosh, I don't even know if that's in this country. I'd rather Caine, Iowa, Ohio. I don't even know that world. And so, ironically, I know it sounds maybe looking a gift horse in the mouse, but I passed on that. And then they said, well, we have a weekend opening in Bellingham. Bellingham, I know Bellingham.
Yeah.
I can take the ferry from Port Townsend, go over, do my weekend shift, do rock and roll on Saturday night, wake up after 4 hours of sleep, put on the religious tapes, kind of fall asleep during that, and then drive home, hit the ferry, and I'm back in PT. So that was my first gig doing, and this might be significant too. I remember doing, that's the first time I got introduced to sort of spiritual things because I played the religious shows. Frank and Ernest, bringing it to you frankly and earnestly. And I think they preached or they did something. But one of them was the Scott Ross show. He played rock and roll and then in and around it talked about Jesus. And I went, well, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So kind of, I had no interest in him, meaning God, but somehow I think that was a seed that was planted even back then.
Well, you could have been playing, instead of that, you could have been playing Dr. Demento like I was at that time. So that's,
that explains some things about you.
Yeah, well, there you go. But yes, I think that's interesting. Do you remember the first song you played on the radio? Like the, and it was probably a 45, right? That you had to back cue and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So what was do you remember what the first one was?
I honestly don't. I have no idea. But for some reason, the Buffalo Springfield, for what it's worth, comes to mind, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably like, what's that sound? You didn't know as it was coming over the coming over the airwaves. What station was that in Bellingham?
KPUG.
Yeah, and it still exists, right?
I think so.
Well, and then after Bellingham, did you end up getting full-time work there, or did you go do that somewhere else? Yeah.
I went evenings, and that was full-time. And then I also went back to college, and that's where I met Scallops in college, and we fell in love. She was the greatest thing ever for me, and I actually didn't realize I was that screwed up until I got married. That's kind of a joke, but not really. What I mean is you sort of need, don't we? We all need someone. You need barriers. There's a reason they're on the highway when you drive. You
right.
know what I mean? And boy, women are kind of amazing for that. They'll actually call you out.
Yeah.
And that's what true love really is. And so she's continues to do that to this day. And I don't know how I could do it without her.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love the, I want to get into the, the faith journey, the Scallops journey and all of that kind of stuff. Also, because I think it's fascinating, and I love both of you, and I think it's just been, and I got to work with Scallops. For those of you that don't know, Scallops was on the show when I was on the show right near the end, but you were on there for a long time. So after Bellingham, where did you go and do radio?
So I just found out when I got into radio. At broadcasting school, I found I had one goal to get to KJR, which is a rock and roll station.
Right.
And that's even maybe part of my, even when you say faith journey, because it's sort of this Tower of Babel you start to build. And I'm not saying that's what everybody does, but you should sort of figure out, okay, it's about ratings and it's about, talking and being funny, and the more you do that, the bigger the ratings get, the more money comes in, and that means the more sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and maybe that house, and maybe a swimming pool, and who knows, what we have in our minds. But that was probably part of the drive in me was that, and I just thought, well, what's the biggest deal? KJR was at the time, and how can I get there? Well, you go to Bellingham. I thought, well, that's where I ended up getting a job. And looking back, that's why. And you do the farm league. It's like, sports. You go to KJRB, that's the B team, and then you'll get to come to KJR.
Yeah, so you went to Spokane, KJRB, and then into Seattle. What year were you working at KJR in Seattle? When did you start there?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. sometime.
Well, let's see. This might be worth backing up to mention. When I was in Spokane, when they offered me the job in Seattle, my life had changed, and I went, I don't think that's what I want anymore. And they said, you have to go. It was kind of that. I mean, that's kind of what it was. And so I thought, well, then this is the right thing to do. So this was probably 74, something like that, where then I came to KJR.
Yeah. Do you think that was the? I mean, I hear stories of that era and all of that, and of course, I remember you from KJR because I grew up in this area, and so it was either the only stations we got were KJR or LG 73 in Vancouver. So that was it because I lived halfway in between in Anacortes. But I mean that was definitely the pinnacle of it for sure. I mean, KJR was everywhere. There was nothing else, right?
Yeah, that was kind of the goal. I thought if you could get there, and it was well, it was not all it was cracked up to be on one level, and it was everything I wanted as well. I couldn't believe that I was sitting in the same seat that world famous Tom Murphy had, and names that maybe many will not remember, but Pat O'Day and all of them. Then getting to meet them all, and it was a dream come true. Yeah. But at the same time, it's boot camp, and you really get beat up. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about when it comes to the media.
For sure.
You're here, this is everything you work for, and I think that was part of the things like, okay, this is maybe this. This I always equate it to the biblical Tower of Babel because it was my own sort of self-made Tower of Babel to realize this is fun. I mean, I'm not going to deny it, and it was great, and it had its moments, but you realize that never quite completes the deal. It never quite completes it.
Yeah. Well, I do think that there's a lot of, obviously very talented people in the business, and and we've known a lot of them that they don't have, they're really great on the radio or on TV or whatever it is, but they do have something missing in their lives, right?
I think that's why I started this show called, I don't know if you remember this, called Honky Tonk Sundays, where I would listen to stars talk on different talk shows. And at the point where they almost got to the point where they were going to talk about their divorce or a difficult period with drugs or some maybe addiction or some rough, difficult road they hit, that my sense was that was always sort of averted, and we kind of laughed about it and we sort of moved on. And I went, well, wait a minute. They wanted to say something there. Right. So I started a syndicated show. Maybe you remember it, I doubt it, but we got on more than a few stations in America and around, and it was a chance to talk to country stars, because I'd found a home in country. Like, oh, whoa, this is what I'm made for. When you and I arrived together, I've been through all of that other stuff. This is home. I love this. This is where I'm supposed to be. Thank you, Lord. But that show allowed me to, well, it was basically talking to country stars about their life and their faith. Not unlike what we're doing right now. It was all part of that, but at least your faith journey should be included in what, if you hit the skids, I want people to know that. How did you recover? What happened? And did that for a number of years and loved it.
Yeah, I remember obviously later in your career when we were working together, and we had Lorenzo Romar on the show, and we went past all of the commercial breaks, and we went long, and you were talking to him about his faith journey. It was so fascinating to listen to that. And I know there was a little bit of pushback, probably a lot of pushback from the management on that and everything like that. But I would say that real, honest conversations, that's what people want. And that's what they, I'm not talking about anybody specifically, but I think the media as a whole is missing for sure, is that genuine honesty that's relatable to people. And I do think that's why country music is successful, is because, people make fun of it. It's like you said earlier, it's like, oh, I had a beer and went to church on Sunday. I mean, as cliche and ridiculous as that is, but that's life.
We're sinners. We need to repent.
Yeah.
I forgot. Who is Lorenzo Romar?
Oh, he was the head coach of the men's Husky basketball team. So he was.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. By the way, let me just say this about when we worked at KMPS. I was an obnoxious Christian then, some might say, but I was never received that way. I mean, when I say obnoxious, I've always been willing to discuss my faith. It's the most incredible thing that ever happened to me. But that aside, KMPS never ever said anything about me and my faith and what I talked about. I mean, it was an amazing. Well, I was there for a total of 20 years or over that. It never came up. Hey, don't talk about Jesus when you do that. Or Winona hit the air with me live, or it was Trisha Yearwood, or any of those that had a faith. It would be part of the conversation because, like we just talked about, why would we leave that out?
Right. Yeah. No, it's interesting because I think that I was listening yesterday. I was listening to some clips of the show and listening to. Your wife, and when I was on, Randy Scott was on, and, just the conversations that we would all have. And it was the most genuine and real, and, and both Scallops and Randy making fun of you for something religious you said or something like that. But that didn't diminish your faith. It also didn't say that they weren't faithful in the way that they lived either. It was just like, oh, come on, we've gone too far or whatever. I mean, but it was so, I mean, I hadn't listened to clips in a long time. And I tell you, Ichabod, it was like, there was one moment that almost made me tear up. It wasn't even a teary kind of a thing, but it was just the way the conversations happened on that show with us. I was like, there was nothing else, in my opinion.
I'm so heartwarmed that you would say that. That was the greatest radio I've ever been a part of, was with you and my wife and Randy Scott. I've never, ever had anything like that. It was that, you're describing it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Getting a little emotional. I've never, when I left KMPS, that was the top for me.
Yeah.
It was like just everything transcended to that. And you hate when anything ends and whatever, but the industry is kind of a conveyor belt, and whoop, like my mom, okay, that's good, something new now. But it was the greatest experience of my life.
Yeah, and I loved it too, and I think that I mean, in my opinion, why aren't we still doing it? But that's like my therapist would say, it's like, if you're going to do this podcast, if only one person listens, you have to be okay with that. And I'm like, well, if we were all still on the radio and only one person was listening, who cares? It's fun. So
I'm fine with that.
But I think it was impactful, and I do, I hear from people still. I mean, how long has that been? I mean, it's been over 10 years, right? I think I hear from people still talk about it, and I think that the impact, and I listened to country music. I came to country music actually because of 9/11. I loved all of the songs around that, and I loved the patriotism. Where were you when the world stopped turning? Have you forgotten? The Toby Keith stuff at the time. I think to me that's kind of what turned me into it. And I wasn't working with country music at the time, but it was a real. I mean, it was like this when I was able to join your show. I was like, this is like you said, this was my KJR. I mean, this was it. And I was, I absolutely loved it. So, and I think that showed on the air that we all really respected and loved each other, even though there were some times when we were all yelling at each other. So,
It was the greatest. It was a family, man.
Yeah, for sure. So with with KMPS, you were at a different country station first in Seattle and then over to KMPS, right?
No, I went to KMPS, and then I was there for about 10 years, and then I wanted to do my syndicated show I mentioned, Honky Tonk Sundays, where we talk about the life and faith of country stars. And now that this might sound like I'm contradicting myself, but they weren't that thrilled about airing that for some reason. I thought, well, so I shopped around, and then I got another job at another country station for a few years, K106, and they ran my syndicated show, and then I also did the morning show. I didn't want to leave, but that's kind of how it happened. And then within maybe like a couple of years, KMPS came back and bought K106. That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. And they offered me an afternoon gig at that time. It didn't seem right, so we went down to to a Fife and started a small. It's called the Cowboy. Scallops managed it, and I did the mornings and had fun down there. We did that for a few years, and then that blew up because I think management ended up in jail or something. It was weird. I'm not kidding. It was weird, but we still had fun doing it. And then we did an internet radio station, just Scallops and I, for a while, just for fun, right? And that was a kick in the pants. And then it just got too much work, so here we are.
Yeah.
Oh, and I went to Apple. I went to Apple then for about 7 years.
Oh, really? Yeah.
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 Quick story about Apple.
Yes.
Can I share it?
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm talking to the general manager, Consuelo, sweetest gal ever. And I've always been one to want more education, which is can be good and kind of lousy too. It's probably my mom who was an educator, and so reading and consuming all I could. It started with reading when I was in my pursuit of who am I and all that. I don't remember the book in the 70s. I'm okay, you're okay. That was the name of the book. I remember reading it going, I don't really feel okay. But I read it and I moved on. I remember the next one, I won't mention his name because he was a big celebrity in Seattle and all that. He gave me a book called The 3 Magic Words. I thought, oh, cool. He said, don't go to the end of the book. Read it all. Well, of course I didn't. I went to the end first. And here's the 3 magic words. Get ready. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I am God. And I said, pretty sure that's not true. That doesn't. Well, if so, we're in a heap of crap, okay? Anyway, how did I get off on this? What was the question? Forgot. Anyway, education was important to me, and I'm at Apple.
Oh, Apple. There you go.
By this time, I'm a Christian. I'm a full-blown, love Jesus. Met him. I was one of those from the 60s. Actually, it was the 70s, but that was still part of that whole movement. And I loved everybody there. I'm working with every possible. This person's transgendering, becoming something else. These 3 people are gay. They live together. Here's a normal couple. Here's a pastor that actually works part-time that's also part. The group was just amazing. I mean, I loved all of this conglomerate of just, unique humanity.
Right.
So I go to Consuela. She's amazing. So I said, hey, I understand you'll pay for college education. Well, yeah, but it has to be in line with what we do at Apple. If you're working in the Genius Bar, you got to be learning some genius stuff about the technology. So you can't. I said, well, listen. You the other day in the morning download said, we're here to love people. Did you say that, Consuelo? She said, I did. That's our hope. We want to love the customers. I said, I have a college I want to go to. It'll teach me better about how to love people. Right? It's learning the Bible.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
about kind of loving people, isn't it? It's God loving us and then us loving others. I spoke honestly. I said, do you think Apple will pay for that? She said, oh, let's try. Write up a little thing, give it. I wrote it up, sent it to them. They paid for 4 years of my college at a biblical school, and I got a Bible study degree.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Who would have thought?
That's great. What that is great. I'm happy to hear they did that. That's very cool. What school were you at?
I don't remember.
Go.
They were back there near Ohio.
Oh yeah.
Iowa, something. Crown College, St. Bonifacius, Minnesota.
There you go. Well, that's cool. So with the, I asked what your one of the things that happened in your life, and you said it was falling in love with the greatest selling book of all time. Did you grow up faith-based, or was there a moment where that turned?
No. Where was that turned? That's funny because repentance, the word, kind of a dramatic word, don't you think?
Yeah.
Does it kind of guilt trip you?
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, it should. The Greek word is metanoia. Listen to how smart I am. The Greek word is metanoia, and it means change your mind. Change your mind. Here's what you think Jesus is about. Here's what he said. You might want to change your mind based on what the Bible says. Now, a change will follow that in your heart, but you might want to start right here intellectually and realizing who Jesus really is biblically. But that said, no, zero faith. Zero faith. Oh, I can tell you this, though. in the kitchen when I did the dishes at home, it was my turn this is Port Townsend. There was this poem my mom had hung it there. Here it is. And we're nothing religious. I mean, okay, twice a year, maybe a church, whatever. Maybe the Lord's Prayer every now and then from my dad, but no. Or at least I thought that maybe that's following God. That's all you need. I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
It didn't matter to me. But here's the poem. Said the robin to the sparrow, I should really like to know why these anxious human beings rush and worry so. Said the sparrow to the robin, friend, I think that it must be that they have no heavenly father, such as cares for you and me. I just was forced to memorize because it was there, and I'm washing dishes. I can look out the window, there's my brother playing, it's his turn to do the dishes tomorrow, but I took the time to memorize that poem. That was dramatic when I think back on it, because my career I was an anxious human being. I was an anxious human being, rushing and worrying so. And building my own Tower of Babel, if you will, to get ratings, to get people to like me, to maybe even if I had to compromise who I was to get what was necessary, because isn't that what we're all supposed to do? So we get, sex, a lot of sex, well, maybe too much sex, that's okay, wait a minute, that has a place for it, but hold on, what is all of this? What is all of this about? And it's interesting you mentioned your therapist, because when I was in Spokane, I thought, what do I need? What's missing here? What's the missing thing? What have I not changed my mind about that I should? I certainly didn't think it was biblical necessarily, but that always stayed with me, that poem, interesting enough. So I beat you. I don't know what your therapist is all about. I'm in Spokane. I went, I think it was called the Rock Something Clinic in Spokane. I went to see who can really help you the most in the world. Who's the brightest in the world? Psychiatrists, right? Mm-hmm. That's what the world has to offer. Psychiatrist. I'm going to go see a psychiatrist. All the way up in the elevator, it's like climbing the Himalayan mountains to see the guru, right?
Right.
No, but my life is low. I know something's off. It's bigger than me. This trying to add whatever I need, this self-made righteousness is not working. I think I'm really good. People are telling me I'm really good, but something's off. Something's off. So I get up there. This is $50 an hour back then in the 70s. He told me nothing. The elevator doors closed. I'm coming all the way down. It's like my slow descent, spiritually going, what the world had to offer at its greatest did nothing for me. And for reasons I don't know other than the grace of God, it was then that I realized I can't do this, God. If you're there, I need you. That's about as simple as it was. I was playing guitar at the time also, even though I was on radio with this guy. And he was a pastor. I didn't know he became a pastor. I didn't know it. He began to tell me about who Jesus really is biblically. And here's now, I don't know about you, but for me, as I look back at climbing that ladder to get up to what the world had to offer its best after me doing all I did, here's what I wanted him to tell me. He couldn't do it, but I'm looking back on it now, not at the time, but I wanted him to tell me this. I wanted him to say, your sins are forgiven. That's what I wanted him to say. He couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Who can forgive my sin?
Yeah.
Who can forgive what's missing in my life? Who can forgive the rebellion and all of what I've done that I trashed up? Who can do that?
Yeah.
He couldn't do it. And so once I found out that that's what Jesus does, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm all in on this. Nobody's forgiven sins. Nobody's forgiving my trashy past except Christ. So that's a long way around.
Well,
Started with a poem.
I mean, it's a great story, but that poem was, I think the door was always a little cracked, right?
I think so.
Because of that. Yeah. And then
I think cracks are really a big part of life. Wherever you're cracked,
yeah,
personally even, it's really important. Weakness and humility is kind of, I think, the path to God.
Yeah.
Not thinking you got it together.
right. Well, and you yes, but you could still have it all together and still find the path. But I think it's realizing that there are, like you just said, like there are cracks in your life and all of that. But that's it's interesting that you're talking to your bandmate and all of that, and you just come to it. Were you already married at that point, or was that before that?
That was, we were, I don't know if you know, right outside of Spokane is a town called Sin.
Oh.
We were living in Sin.
I see.
We weren't officially married yet, but right after that, hold on, were we married? I'm not sure. But it was right about that same time when I met the Lord. That I think we were married right previous to that, yes. And then my wife said, "Okay, I can't live with you. You're crazy."
And yet here she still is living here. So with you.
God's grace, dude.
That's good. And one of the things that you mentioned was that your walk-up song, Mike, when you come up to bat, would be "Amazing Grace." Why that particular song?
Well, isn't that funny that was a hit record? That was a hit song written by a slave trader.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Newton. Why did I just forget his first name? John Newton wrote that. Here he is, trading slave, right? Part of the slave trade. He became close friends with William Wilberforce. Dig this. William Wilberforce was the man who all of his life in Parliament lobbied against the slave trade, and it happened just prior to him dying that he was able to accomplish that it stopped. Stopped in England first, not here. John Newton and he were close buddies, but think about the lyrics to this song. Amazing grace. Grace is not something you earn. I can't climb a ladder and get it. I can't earn it. I can't, right? Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. What therapist would tell you, well, you're a wretch.
Yeah.
You need grace. They wouldn't. Mm-mm. They build us up. They tell you you're the greatest thing ever, or at least the world pumps you full of love. Here's John Newton going, I'm a wretch. It was grace that saved me, but it was the grace of God. So that song is probably just those first opening lines alone for me still says it all. We don't want to admit that about ourselves. I'm not a wretch. I'm really a cool guy. Well, I am a cool guy. God started. He's got some stuff going on here with all of us. He's gifted us. It's not that. It's not that he hates us. He hates sin. He hated what I hated about myself enough to send his son to die on a cross. This is pretty huge, right? This is the irony now. You'll appreciate this. I spent my life getting people to love me. Just like me. Give me likes. Tell me I'm okay. Confirm me. Give me more ratings. Give me more money. And look, I'm really liked. I mean, I'm really liked. I'm just huge liked. And then I come to Jesus, and Jesus says, now here's your new message. And people are going to hate you for the new message. I said, why are you doing this to me? Why can't I have a message that's just kind of pleasant and makes everybody feel good? No. You're going to tell them they're sinners. You're going to tell them they need God's grace. And that's the truth. And I sent my son, and you're going to preach it to people. Well, they're going to hate me. That's right. They killed me. They killed me for it. So good luck. Get out there now. Go get them, Icky.
That's great.
That's a tall order, dude. But I'll never stop doing it.
Yeah.
I can't stop doing it.
It's interesting. I've never thought of when you were talking about the lyrics, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I mean, that really that's it, right? That's the whole idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the message. If you can't admit that, we're backing up, man.
Yeah.
We're backing up. And when I came to that point, listen to this. Scallops and I were talking about this the other day. When she became a Christian, I was like, what's wrong with you? You don't cuss anymore? Well, no, something I don't believe that had a place. I mean, I'd rather use the Lord's name in an encouraging way.
Right.
Now. I can't use his name that way anymore. I just can't. I don't know who you are. No, I'm chewing on a piece of heaven. I'll try to explain it to you. But here's her. You know her enough to know this. She gets on her knees after just, I don't know how long, a few months, of going, God, I don't want to do this. I'm not happy doing this, but okay, it's your way, I guess. Kind of just still reluctantly to my, now, just months prior to that, I'm out in the garage. We got a new home. It's up on was it the South Hill, I think, of Spokane. It's got a garage. It's got the electric door. I'm out there with the car out, the door's shut. I have a candle. I've written every sin I've ever committed on a piece of paper. I'm burning each of them. And I'm saying, thank you, God, that you forgave me. You forgave me every one of those sins. Okay, sorry, I'm emotional. The point was, she's in there. I don't want to do this. Me? Wow, are you kidding? What is that?
Yeah, and that's it. And I love that about both of you, the dynamic personality. I mean, I think that's what was so beautiful about that and that story. I mean, in knowing both of you, that's exactly how that would take place. Yeah, there's no question about that.
We really haven't changed that much. I'm still at times an anxious human being, rushing, worrying. So knowing that I'm totally forgiven, she's like, no, shut up, stop it, get yourself together. It's great.
How do you? Well, two things. First, do you think that there is a revival with the younger generation in spiritual revival?
Yeah, I'm not a prophetic guy at all. I know some people dabble in that arena. I'm a Bible guy. I love the Bible. It's called living and active, and it really is. It does penetrate your heart and show you who you are and encourage you. But that said, I think it's the most exciting time ever to be alive. I think what's happening in this country right now is the most exciting thing that's ever gone on. And I think it's a massive move of God because this country was founded on Christ. You hear the left say, oh no, or you'll hear them try to tear it all down. And there is a war going on with Western civilization, but God always wins. He's in it for the long haul. He's not in it for the moment, because God wins it all. We've read the end of the book. But he uses people. He uses human agency to get that done. And you may not agree who's in the Oval Office. God put him there. All right? He also put Obama there. He also put Joe Biden there for reasons, or allowed that to go on. So maybe there would be a wake-up. But I think economically, yes, but more than importantly, spiritually, to answer your question, I think it's the most, I wish I was, like you said, we want to get back together. I wish we were on the air. I wish we were about 30 years younger. It's just, I think it's the most exciting time ever in the world's existence.
That's a very hopeful way to look at it, and that's who you are. We're both Geminis and have a similar take on things in a certain way, but the way I see it, through social media, through the news, and whatever you feel about all of that, it's just I don't see that hope. So in talking to you, I think that's I want to have that attitude of that this is the greatest time to be alive, and this is what's happening and all of that. So I love the attitude about it for sure, because it's very hard to see it through the mess.
Yeah, well, things are always messy. I mean, life is bloody, life is messy, hearts break, all of that. But God is faithful. I mean, you can't deny it by looking at the Word. But scallops, by the way, we have some exciting conversations, and we see things a little bit differently sometimes. We're totally on board with this collectively. What I mean by that is because that's an important way how you look at something. Not because I'm trying to put a positive spin on the world, but when Christ is elevated, which that's how America was founded. And you're seeing more Christians rising up. And I realize at the same time, that really annoys people. We have to stop that. That can't be going on. That's how the country was founded. And if God is doing something, which I believe he does, don't fight against him. Don't fight against God. It's a very huge losing battle. I realize that if some leftist is listening to me right now, this guy's an idiot. He's talking about pie in the sky, Jesus, and all of that. And he's clueless. I don't believe for a moment I am. I believe God's called us into politics. He's called us into the world. Come to me, Jesus said. If you're anxious, come to me. I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon me and learn. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. I'm gentle. I'm humble. I will give you rest.
Well, there you go. Now we should take the offering, right? That's the next step. I know that I've seen clips of you online preaching. Are you doing that regularly anywhere?
No, just wherever they'll have me. I've been known to go.
How do you? This is almost a 180, but probably the same subject. But how do you? What's the secret to a marriage as long as you have both had?
Yeah, interesting. 180 is also what metanoia means, and that's what repentance means. God, I think I'll turn. Help me. The secret to a happy marriage is do it her way. I'll just go with that.
Well, I must not have done that, so.
I do believe the man actually is the leader in the spiritual sense. And the left always goes crazy. Oh my God, what are you talking about? A woman wants to be loved. A woman wants to be cherished. A woman wants to be protected. A woman wants to be cared for. A woman wants to be provided for. And we as men have jobs to do. We really do. And we can't be wimps. We've got to step up. We've got to get it done. We've got to suffer on our family's behalf. We have to learn even how to suffer better, or suffer well. It's where we get the word patience from. Learn to suffer and suffer well, and because you'll have an opportunity when you have tons of grandkids and you want to stay married. Part of the deal.
So the leader, but you also it's not I am man, I am in charge. It's more of growing together, but also taking that leadership role. Is that?
I understand that need to say it, and you're completely right. Humility, meekness is strength under control. That's what the word means, meekness. So, no, it's not at all. It's not a question of, you see her, she leads the home. She's amazing. There's no doubt about it. I don't even want to degrade women to say that they're not in the position they are because they have such a gig. We need to love, we need to cherish, we need to die for them like Christ did the church.
Well, and I, as somebody who worked with you for several years, you and your wife, there's definitely, it's a good dynamic that works. And you're right. When you say, she obviously did a lot for the show and everything like that. And, kept everything on track and was definitely in charge of all of us, really. So.
Yeah. Amen. And if somebody who's good at that, you let them do it. You're right.
Yeah. One of the questions I asked you was a funny story about your life in one word that you can tell. Dog poop was your word, so I want to hear that story.
That's not 2 words, is it?
Trevor's dog poop, 1 word. It's 2 words. Sorry. Trevor says it's 2 words. Trevor also made me wear shoes, so.
Yeah, he made you put on shoes today. I love that, Trevor. Get your shoes on.
But I'm like, it's Aloha Friday. No work till Monday. Come on.
But it may be for another reason. Trevor's there with you personally, and But that's it.
That could be.
Yeah. Here's the poop story. But it involves the dog, obviously. We were leaving a theater in the University District. We'd seen a show. I was walking along like a parking strip, or at least it was a place that had grass on it, and she was kind of on the sidewalk, and she said, "Hey, get off the lawn. You're going to step in dog poop. Or you're going to step in poop." 1 word. And I said, "No, I'm not. I can see it's nicely." Anyway, it was kind of dusk, It was an evening show, so I couldn't really see, but we get in the car. She says, "You're not getting in the car. Open your door, but let me see your foot before you before you get in the car." So okay, no problem. So I pulled up my shoe, and she said, "What's that?" I said, "That? Oh, I forgot to tell you, we made a $5 bet. It was a $5 bet. Okay, so that you will have." She said, "What's that?" I said, "That is $5 worth of dog food." Right there, my friend. See, I know when to give in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I admit when I'm wrong.
That's great. Well, we have one of the things that I have done with my children since I've worked with you. I go into their rooms. I still, to this day, my older son is in college. My younger son still he's a sophomore in high school. And I walk into his room and wake him up. They don't set alarm. I walk into their room and I turn on the light and I say, "It's time to wake up. Shake your lazy butt. Procrastination across the nation just won't do." We were talking about it. And the other day when I told Jack that you were going to be on here, I said, "Hey, that's where this comes from. That's every morning you're in there. That's Ichabod Caine right there." Every morning, and it's like the sign when you were doing dishes. I mean, I bet my kids will say that to their kids for sure.
There you go.
So, but yeah, no, it's so I appreciate you doing this. I loved it. Love you and Scallops. Wish we were together more often. Wish we were on the radio, to be honest, because like you said, it would be a really fun time for that. You were telling something a little bit earlier about wanting to be loved, wanting to be liked, and in this business, it's a lot of that. It's a very hard cycle to break out of. I believe when your whole life is based on, like, I tried out to be on TV, and they said, "Well, I don't like the way your hair is, and you did a great job, but I don't like your hair, and I don't like your blue shirt. I want you to wear something different." It's like, it's never that. And it's like, we can be as good as we are, but if one person says on a radio ratings thing, "We don't like you," then you're out of work or whatever. So it's like, you're always trying to get that one person to like you. And I think that's probably why I had the nickname Wounded Bird, which I remembered when I was listening to the tapes the other day. So that was kind of funny too. Rapid fire. We have,
Wait, hold on. Wounded Bird. I forgot that was a nickname. I wrote a song once. It's called "We're Just Pots Made of Clay, Born Broke, Not Thrown Away. All them cracks I tried to fill, Jesus pardoned on that hill. I was dead in sin, and now he gives me light within." I've forgotten how it goes. Something like that. That's based on Corinthians, where Paul calls himself a earthen vessel or a cracked pot. Being a wounded bird, don't ever change that sensitivity, because there's where God gets in. That's how he gets in. Because the world will never have our hair right, we'll never have the right look, something will always be wrong, and we'll try to patch that hole and figure it out. But God loves you. I know I sound biblical, I hope. God loves you and sent his son to fill every crack in your life. And all he says to us in Matthew 11 is, "Come to me. You'll find your rest." That to me is why we're here.
Yeah. That's it's an interesting way to look at the wounded bird thing. I had not thought of it that way. I had always taken it as, there's something wrong with you because you're sensitive and you have to have people like you and you don't want these kind of things. I mean, I never took it that way when it was said to me on the air. Don't get me wrong. I never offended by anything, but that's, so that is a definite spin on things. And that's why I need more time with you, because you definitely are able to look at things more positively than I think a lot of people do. So that's good. Rapid fire. Morning or night? Morning or night?
What's that?
Morning or night?
What's the question was, which one do I like?
Yes.
I hate to be spiritual, but I've made them all. They're totally cool. No, he made them both. No, I would say it used to be night, it's mornings.
Are you a window or an aisle seat?
Oh, aisle. I got to get out.
Yeah. What is your drink of choice?
Well, today it's herbal tea with honey.
What was your first concert you went to?
Beatles.
Beatles. Wow. Where at?
My wife, Scallops, who I'd never met, didn't meet her 2 years later, was at that very show.
Wow, that's cool. It's awesome. Was that in Seattle?
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see, what's your favorite account to follow on social media?
Favorite account? I'm not sure. I'm on Facebook and Twitter, and not Twitter. What's it called now? X. I mean, yeah, and True Social. But favorite to follow, I suppose. I kind of like I like Instagram too. Believe it or not, I like some of the people I follow. There, I get some. I think there's just a time where you realize what that's not true. Don't freak out. There's some real darkness. Man is evil. Evil is present. It is. But Jesus said, I've overcome it. I've overcome that. Trust me, stand your ground, speak the truth in love. When you speak the truth today, you piss off a lot of people. But that's why we stay jovial and we do it in love.
All right. Well, I 100% enjoy seeing you. It's been way too long. It would be fun to get together with you and Scallops and reminisce. It was great listening to the old clips. I don't know if I'm sure Trevor throughout our time here has brought up some of the pictures of the old days. We had lots of celebrity interviews and lots of fun times there. And it's just, you were a very big impact on my life. There's no question about it. And I really enjoyed it. Love you guys both. And I'll let you have the last word though. There you go.
I love you.